I am at the Ark Encounter in Williamstown, Kentucky. This is a relatively new and massive creationist attraction featuring a full-scale walkthrough replication of Noah's Ark. This attraction is so extensive that visitors have to take a bus from the parking lot to the Ark itself. Alright, here's the rainbow archway that serves as the entrance into the Ark Encounter Park. And there she is, Noah's Ark. This is an incredible sight to behold. An ancient vessel of biblical proportions standing here in the middle of the Bluegrass States. So the Ark Encounter is the second attraction of Ken Ham's Answers in Genesis, a young earth creationist organization that runs the Creation Museum in nearby Petersburg, Kentucky. I have a separate video on that museum. But in 2016, they immensely expanded their Kentucky operations with this theme park attraction centered around a purported full-scale recreation of Noah's Ark. The Ark cost about $100 million to build. This attraction is quite controversial, not only for the creationist ideology, but because the Ark received significant local and state tax incentives to help them build this, from my understanding mainly for nearby road infrastructure, but still that arguably violates the doctrine of separation of church and state. But this place is still pretty amazing. I'm excited to explore this. Now, as I go through here, I am going to present the attraction's story and beliefs about Noah's Ark and the flood, as well as other ideas about natural science and history per creationist theory. I am not out to endorse or critique anything. I am primarily interested in seeing this alternative viewpoint and exploring this one-of-a-kind attraction. There is nothing else like this. On the pathway to the Ark's entrance, there are several monuments depicting biblical history. Here, wickedness fills the earth before the flood. This monument is about Noah and the Ark. There are also some birds on the pathway to the Ark's entrance. This monument tells the story of Adam and Eve's original sin. As the story goes, Noah had just had his 600th birthday. Of course, humans lived much longer before the flood. Noah's father had passed away 5 years before, and his grandfather Methuselah, the world's oldest man, had just died the year before at the ripe old age of 969, about 75 to 55 years before. Although I've seen a few different numbers, God had told Noah and his family to begin building an ark, as the countdown for the flood had begun. They believe that only about 24 people were involved with building this gigantic boat over a few decades. However, only Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives actually boarded the ark and survived while everything died around them. Except the fish. I suppose they were fine. 7 days before the flood was unleashed, God sent the animals and warned Noah's family to begin building the ark. So in just 7 days they gathered 2 specimens from every species on Earth to survive. But as the sign says, they need to hurry. The storm is almost here. This is the 12 Stones monument, similar to a monument built by Joshua. The queue for entry is underneath the ark. Visitors cannot usually climb the outside ramp like the animals, but they have thunder and lightning sound effects to simulate the oncoming flood. Alright, welcome to Noah's Ark. As the flood engulfed the world, Noah, his family, and their animals were nice and safe on this ark. This ark is supposedly built to the accurate biblical dimensions, so the ark is 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 51 feet tall. That allows for a massive exhibit space, so there's a lot to see on board the ark. Here, animatronic Noah and the family thank God for his mercy during the judgment. This is a recreated storage area of the ark. All of these boxes, pots, and bags store supplies like food and water for the animals. Many Amish builders from Mishawaka, Indiana were hired to construct the ark using traditional timber framing techniques, which is pretty neat. Of course, they had access to lots of construction equipment that Noah wouldn't have had, and they would have altogether avoided non-biblical steel nails if it weren't for modern construction regulations. The ark claims to be the largest timber frame structure in the nation. Noah stored the reptiles and amphibians over here. They were put in little pots. There were many animals on the ark that have since gone extinct. However, they believe that only a few thousand species have ever gone extinct. These are sphenocodontids in their cage. They are presumed to be extinct now. They are just mammals, not dinosaurs or reptiles. These are periosaurs, some sauropsid reptiles that are now extinct. And here are some cassiids, some bizarre synapsids that are only known from rock layers deposited by the flood apparently. Here are some istiodactylids. These are reptiles, not dinosaurs. There were dinosaurs on the ark, though they refer to them as dragons. Hopefully we'll spot some on board. Here are some Ice Age era bears in their pen. The Ark Encounter depicts the worst case approach when estimating the number of animal kinds. Some apparently believe they brought 7, but this ark shows that Noah brought 2 of every unclean animal and 7 of every clean animal. Of course, they had at least a male and female specimen for each. These are the designated survivors of the pig kind. This is where the bats were kept. Here's a placard about the dimensions. They use the ancient system of measurement called cubits. This is a scale model of Noah's Ark. There were 1,398 animal kinds, with 6,744 individual animals on board. Heading up to the second level of the ark. Here's a display on the Genesis. This display goes through the story, which is more elaborated upon at the Creation Museum. Of course, Adam and Eve committed the original sin and unleashed the descent into darkness. There are some bizarre miniature tableaus depicting the pre-flood era, which was full of terrible sin. This scene shows some prisoners inside an arena that are about to be eaten by a dinosaur. They are also getting attacked by human giants. I guess this is an ancient orgy scene complete with snake dancers. This is strange. Here a priest is delivering a human baby sacrifice into the belly of a serpent god. So the pre-flood world was exceedingly wicked and deserved to be judged. They also pose an interesting question. Does our sinful world deserve any less?
So how do you have these together? This zoo and zoos.
I'm just supposed to prepare shit.
There are plenty more animal pens on this level, including some reptilians like alligators. There are some hyenas in there. Alright, I think these are some dinosaurs on Noah's Ark. They only would have brought some juvenile or young dinosaurs onto the Ark. A fully grown T-Rex definitely would have rampaged through the Ark. That is extraordinary, as Bill Nye the Science Guy would say. I have stumbled upon a very dark back room of the Ark. Looks like some small animals have gotten loose back here. Here are some more animal pens. There are some little giraffes in here. They definitely get rather cramped if they were full size. Here's an extinct canid of the dog kind, next to an extinct felid of the cat kind. This placard tells about how Noah got 6,700 animals onto a boat. Here they compare the biblical creation model with the evolution model. Here are what they call the two poster childs of evolution, the Archaeopteryx and the ape. They would have had to feed most animals on most days. That would be a lot of work. I believe these are some hippos. Noah possibly had to deal with some vicious carnivores on the Ark. However, they seem to believe that some of these carnivores became herbivores for a year to survive the voyage. Here are some little Tyrannosauruses, who apparently did chill out a little on the Ark. Someone is feeding the animal from above into a little tube. Of course, they could feed nicer animals through the cage. This model shows the feeders, water, and waste removal systems built into each pen of the larger animals. Small animals had a smaller system. They were basically stacked on top of each other, and I guess their droppings just went down a series of ramps. There are some frogs inside this pot. I'm not exactly sure what all this is, but I have an idea. These screens show the extraordinary functions of the Ark, like the water and waste management systems, or the Ark's ventilation.
Sanitation system.
600? What do you mean? I look about the same age as any other 600-year-old person I've met. Well, except for my wife, of course. She doesn't look a day past 400.
If you say so, dear.
Imzara's still as beautiful as she go for wood, 300 by 50 by 30. And that guided all that we did. I've been building boats most of my life, but of course never anything this large. So it took me a while to plan the construction, and there were some difficulties to overcome. But God is wise and knows everything, and He provides all we need.
This was Noah's library. He possibly kept records and studies of all the animal kinds in here. This is the carpentry workshop. One of Noah's sons is doing woodwork to keep the ark intact. There is also a blacksmith shop on the ark to shape metal tools. Noah was apparently an incredibly skilled carpenter. Here's an interesting display called the Fairy Tale Ark. This exhibit denounces all unrealistic and childish fairy tale portrayals of the Ark story. So there are lots of books that Answers in Genesis does not like. No cartoonish depictions allowed, but kids can buy all sorts of plushy animals and other things like this inside one of the gift shops. However, these cute arks are dangerous because they distort God's word and malign His character. This is an animatronic of Raina, Japheth's wife, sweeping while pondering existential questions, like why God can be so cruel. This is the main door of the ark, where the animals entered. These placards indicate that the Bible is absolutely correct. This is the Answers in Genesis room, with a cutout of Ken Ham. Now we're going to start heading through a recreation of the family quarters. The exhibit design of these rooms are incredibly intricate, and there are lots of wax figures of the family. This is a very immersive area, one of my favorites on the Ark. This is the room of Shem, who is apparently very caring to the animals. Here, one of the women is preparing food in the impressive multi-purpose kitchen, which had enough supplies to last them throughout the entire duration of the flood while they were stuck in here. Here are the common quarters where the family would gather to eat and pray. Noah and his family most likely maintained a vegetarian diet while on board the Ark. They did not eat their animals. They also had a loom on board. Here are the dove cages. Noah would send out doves to see if the flood was receding. Eventually, a dove returned with an olive branch, which meant that the flood was ending and the world would be restored. The Ark must have had some pretty luxurious quarters considering the situation. Creationists have an alternative view on fossils. They believe fossils with labels like Permian or Devonian only reflect certain rock layers, not eras of time. They believe there was only one ice age, not long after the flood 4,400 years ago. And they do reject the secular science of modern climate change. This diorama depicts the recovery of P-38 fighters that crashed in World War II into the ice of Greenland. Here they are attempting to disprove annual ice layers as a dating method. This is a diorama of the Tower of Babel, where the people ignored God's command and built a giant tower, and from here, sinful, racist, and ungodly people dispersed across the globe. Here's a placard saying that some Christians have been racist, but the Bible does not support such beliefs. They emphasize that all men and women descend from a common ancestor in Adam and Eve. Here they question which view is confirmed by history and archaeology. Were humans apes or perfect intelligent beings from the beginning? These are the pre-flood population estimates. Apparently there may have been nearly 20 billion people drowned by the flood. There's another dull sign about evolution, and here's one about technological advances. There are legends in several cultures about people building colossal vessels and surviving great floods. However, only Noah's was real because the Ark was perfect. Here they compare some inferior vessels of legend to the Ark, such as Gilgamesh's cube and the Akkadian tablets. On the simulation, they put these vessels to the test. This tells of the Noahic covenants. After the flood, Noah built an altar. He took clean animals and clean birds and sacrificed them as burnt offerings on the altar. Then God promised to never flood the earth again and show them a happy rainbow. Here within the confines of the Ark, there is an exhibit about the Bible, curated by the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. Here's a very old Torah scroll featuring Genesis. This is a Syriac New Testament, written in Syriac from 1621. This is original. Here are some facsimiles of some of the earliest New Testament Gospel Codex fragments, written in Greek. Even this Bible history exhibit has some good theming. There's a little ship indicating how the Bible spread across the seas. This is another facsimile of an early Greek document, featuring a psalm. These pieces are Christian relics from Ethiopia, including a processional cross. These are some Bibles from England, including the Coverdale Bible, the first complete English language translation. Here's a display on Hudson Taylor, a British missionary who went to Shanghai and wrote the first translation in Mandarin. This is the Last Supper by an Aborigine Australian. Ernest Shackleton brought 2 Bibles on the Endurance during a famed voyage to Antarctica, and when the Endurance got stuck, they went out on foot and buried one of the Bibles at the ship, but brought the other one with them, and they survived. So here's an exact copy of the Bible editions that Shackleton had. And here in this wigwam is an original Eliot Indian Bible in Algonquin from 1685. John Eliot was a missionary to the Algonquin. These are some graphic novel or comic scenes about contemporary creationist beliefs. This pulley system could open up the top of the Ark for some air, though I don't think it works on this Ark. So this full-size recreation of Noah's Ark is absolutely incredible. It is a colossal structure with some very unique displays inside. There is more to see at the Ark Encounter, so I am going to explore the grounds. They do have plans for some significant expansions to the park. These include an indoor scale model of biblical Jerusalem, perhaps similar to the one that was at the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida, that sadly closed down recently, and a recreation of the Tower of Babel, which will, quote, confront racism. I am intrigued to see those additions, and I hope they build them. That is Truth Traveler, a VR experience that I will not be trying out. This really is an unexpected sight to see in the middle of some bluegrass hills. There are some real animals here, so let's explore the Ararat Ridge Zoo. That is an aoudad, which can grow horns up to 20 inches long. That's the legendary tortoise. The emphasis behind this zoo is that all these animals here are descendants of the flood survivors that were on the Ark. There are some kangaroos sleeping over there. There's some prickly porcupines in here. Hey look, it's an armadillo. Those are some lemurs. They're pretty awesome. They do offer camel rides for young children. I believe that is a llama. What a majestic creature. These animals are just chilling in the shadow of Noah's Ark. There's an ostrich, which creationists presumably do not believe are related to dinosaurs. Here is by far the most popular animal in this region of Kentucky, the horse. I caught a creationist animal show.
Then on the 5th and 6th days, he made all the different kinds of animals. On the 5th day, it was the animals in the water and the air, like birds, and fish, and whales, and bats, and you are going to meet one of those. Lots of poison and venom, things that come about that allow animals to survive in this broken world. But we still understand that these animals are part of God's creation. They are beautifully designed. So, now, he is not the kind of fearsome animal you would think of, right? For having teeth and claws, and yet he does have both. And they are very, very sharp, and they're very, very painful, let me tell you. Alright, so this little guy is a sugar glider, like we said. So we're going to show you the thing in his name that makes him most famous, his ability to glide. So these guys live up in the trees of the forest they call home, and he is able to glide from tree to tree. Let's see. There we go. Alright, we'll do that one more time so you can see. Well, yeah, he is. Come on, buddy. Skills today? Yes, our red kangaroos right over here in the kangaroo walkabout. If you haven't been out there yet, you'll actually see what he does use to catch his prey. Is those huge pincers right up there at the front.
So that was the Ark Encounter, a one-of-a-kind attraction and experience. Like its counterpart, the Creation Museum, it is a marvelous attraction despite the controversy regarding its contents and even its existence. I had a tremendous time here. It really is unlike anything I've ever seen. And that is despite the admission and parking fees, which are definitely of biblical proportions. Anyways, I hope no one in any camp feels triggered. And if you did manage to enjoy this video, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. I have videos featuring all sorts of unique attractions and museums across the country and elsewhere, including other museum tours, roadside attractions, national parks, and more. Also, I do have a video on the nearby Creation Museum that is linked in the description. Thanks for watching.